All right. So, hey, thanks for agreeing to come on the podcast. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
No, of course. Obviously, a big name like yourself definitely brings a lot of attention. Curious though, I always like to kind of start these off by just asking, like, everybody kind of knows you as this, elite runner, obviously state champion, and so what are some like hobbies kind of outside of running that you tend to gravitate towards?
Yeah, one of my main hobbies is singing. So I'm in my school choir, and this will next year will be my fourth year doing it. So I've been singing for a long time, and I also sing in my choir at my church every so often. So I do that, and I also enjoy reading, but I get pretty busy during the year, so I mainly like read during the summer. I also like hanging out with my friends a lot, and I also like just like binge watching TV shows on Netflix. Yeah, so probably my main
Yeah,
hobbies.
yeah, I was gonna say that's a pretty common occurrence on Netflix there.
Yeah.
Choir though, choir, you're the second person that's so they sing,
Mhm.
um, which is pretty cool. That's different. I've never really heard too many cross country runners
Yeah.
getting into like choir and whatnot.
Mhm.
Um, do you like do you do any like musicals or like acting, or it's just like just singing choir?
Um, One of our things for our choir is we do like one musical every year in the spring. And the last musical we did the Adams Family. And we've also done like Something Rotten and Little Shop. So yeah, we do a musical every year. Yeah. So we do a
Oh, that's
little,
pretty cool.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So then how does Netflix watching, choir singing, hanging out with friends, how does that go into running? Like, how'd you start running?
Um, Honestly, like it's really hard to fit in everything, but like I started running. It's kind of like a weird story. Um, I used to swim year round, which is funny because I watched Avery's video and she also used to swim. But I used to swim year round, so we would be swimming like all year. And I also used to play basketball. My seventh grade year, I kind of don't really remember what happened, but I kind of just like wasn't enjoying swimming very much anymore. So I stopped doing that, but I was still doing basketball. So we had like the basketball season in like the fall and winter. And then spring came around, I wasn't really doing anything. And I kind of like to be busy. So I was like, okay, I'll just try track because like a lot of my friends were doing it and a lot of people were just doing track. So I decided to join and they put me in all the long distance events like the 16 and 8. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. And at first, like, I didn't really enjoy it that much, but I mean, I did it. And then I decided to do cross country the next season, my eighth grade year. And I really enjoyed it. Like I really enjoyed like being with all the seniors and the older kids because I was probably like the youngest person on my team. It was really like heavy on upperclassmen. So it was just fun to like, I don't know, learn from them. So yeah, that's kind of how I started running. It was like seventh grade year. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that has become a common occurrence as well.
Yeah.
Swimming. Yeah, Avery mentioned swimming. Ava Lindsay we had on
Mhm.
a couple days ago. She played basketball too.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it's like I'm like, wow, okay. So swimming and basketball seems to be the and soccer. Soccer is also
Yeah.
kind
Oh,
of everybody transitions from those sports over to
yeah.
running. Um, Dang, yeah, that's pretty cool. No, I feel like everybody's journey to starting out is always unique or different in some way. Um, I started out literally just I had a friend who lived a street away from me, and their whole family ran, and I'm just like, oh, like this looks pretty cool. I want to start doing it. So I started doing it, and I remember like the third day ever running. We did a 7 mile run, and I was like, "Oh, this is pretty cool. Like, this is
Yeah.
fun. I like doing it." So
Yeah.
it's definitely unique, and people kind of look at you like sideways, like, "What are you doing?
Yeah.
Why you want to do that?" But that's
Yeah.
funny though. You also mentioned like track. Like, I feel like too people mainly just like if they don't know what they're doing, they're just like, "Yeah, put them in the mile and we'll
Yeah.
see what happens."
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. So cross country 24. So last season,
Mhm.
you run well in 23. You ran 1952, and
Mhm.
then this season 1755.
Yeah.
Uh, that is a jump. That
Yeah.
is a pretty big jump. What were the expectations leading into that season, the
Hon
24 season?
Honestly, I wasn't completely sure because my sophomore year, I kinda, like, hit a rough patch and, like I mean, the season, like, ended okay, but, like, the season as a whole just wasn't the best for me. So honestly, I kind of didn't place too many expectations on myself, but I did have a pretty good track season, so I kind of was like, maybe it'll be good. Um, so I kind of just locked in a little bit in the summer. I had like some expectations to do like maybe like top 20 at state. I thought that was like realistic, I guess. And so I really locked in during the summer and I really like did a lot of high mileage and yeah, I don't really know what happened, but that season was crazy. Like even like the start of 2024 season, like I I started the season with the PR, which was pretty good, but it was nowhere near 17:55. So, yeah, but like once I started getting like sub 19, that's kind of when I started having like higher expectations like like maybe I could be like top 10 at state. And like I don't know, as the season like progressed, that's when I was kind of like okay, like I don't know, I just had better expectations for myself. So yeah, like the way like our coach lays the season out is like we want to peak later. I mean, that's kind of obvious,
Yeah.
but like every year we always start off like not slower, but we just get a lot faster throughout the season the way our coach lays it out. So yeah, those expectations kind of just increased as the season went on. Yeah.
Yeah, so I know you mentioned that. Was there ever like an indication in summer training where you maybe did a long run or a workout and was just like okay, something's going on here? Like was there any indication of that, or it just like the season started rolling through and the time started just kind of getting lower?
There may have been like a little bit of an indication. I think like the highest mile run I did in like one session was maybe 10 miles that summer. And I think it ended up being like the pace ended up being like pretty fast and I felt like pretty good. So that might have been a little bit of an indication, but I think the biggest indication was kind of just how my times were dropping throughout the season. So yeah.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to I had a buddy who he was kind of helping me through like trying to start running a marathon, and he in high school I kind of asked him something similar, um, because he ended up having like he was a 15 like 40s guy, 1550s guy, and he ended up running 14 like 55,
Mhm.
57 on the Great American course. He was the first boy to break 15 since Alan Webb. And I asked him that too, and he kind of said something similar. It was just like all of a sudden, like a kind of a workout started
Mhm.
getting lower, and it was just
Yeah.
it was odd. It was a little odd, but it
Mhm.
just started clicking. And I was so curious of like, it's kind of like, and we're gonna get into this a little bit more, but like in races, when you see the time you come through, especially on the track, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you're coming through the first mile, and it's you know 5:20 or something, and you're like, whoa, okay, here we go. This
Yeah.
is putting yourself in a situation.
Yeah.
Um, so when it comes to cross, because I want to stay in cross 24 right now, is there any favorite courses that you have?
I think I have a few. I like McAlpine a lot because it's like pretty flat, so that's nice sometimes. And also, like, it's really pretty. Like, there's the whole pond, and like you're kind of just running in the shade the whole time, which is nice. I also like Starlight because I feel like you can run like pretty fast times there, and also like part of it's on the track, so that's nice. And then I would say also our home course at Clover, we worked really hard on that course because like 3 years ago, like we didn't have a course at all. So our coaches worked really hard to basically create our course from scratch. And I would say like our course is like the epitome of like cross country because it has everything. It has hills, it has like mud, it has everything. So it's really challenging. You might not get a PR on our course, but it really shows like your strength. So those are probably my favorite courses.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned. Yeah, because I just took my kids over to the Foot Locker course. We ran there for an easy run the other day. And you mentioned flat. It's like you still have that one hill.
Yeah, there's like one hill, yeah.
Yeah, that one hill, and I haven't ran that course in forever. My PR is actually on that course, but
Hmm.
yeah, you underestimate that hill so
Yeah.
much. Yeah, I recorded there last season at for the Wendy's invite, and
Mhm.
I recorded like right at the base of the hill. And then once you actually run the hill, they're like, "Oh wow, this is a lot longer than I thought."
Yeah.
um, but it's still, yeah, such a fun course and
Mhm.
super spectator friendly.
Yeah.
And most people kind of say, because I know your coach, yeah, you guys started your own course.
Mhm.
I'd like to get out there too. It seemed really nice. I saw uh like when the hurricane came through, you guys were cleaning up quite a bit out there in
Yeah.
the trails, and
Yeah.
that kind of put a damper on a
Yeah.
couple weeks in the season in there. But a lot of people say eye opener too. Eye opener is kind of a big
Mhm.
one.
Mhm.
Uh, the state course is iffy on there too.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, courses I think are always like, even some of the ones that are slower are still some of the most interesting and like kind of
Mhm.
fun, true cross country grit in there.
Yeah.
Um, do you have a favorite workout? Cross workout?
I think I honestly just like long progression runs where you just get faster the whole time. Those are probably my favorite because like you can start off kind of not like a warm up, but like you can start off slower and then like if you feel good, you keep going. Those are probably my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, I think yeah. Most people say like mile repeats or like eights,
Yeah.
tempos occasionally, alternating mile. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm kind of the same too. I like kind of building up into it, especially like a good long run. If you do like a really good long run workout in there too, like it's on point. Um, so again, so 1755 for the year. Was there any reason you didn't do any like postseason meets, or it just wasn't kind of in the cards?
I was supposed to do Foot Locker, but I think I just ended up like not signing up in time. So I was supposed to do that meet, but then I just didn't. But I think it worked out in my favor because I could get started with like winter training sooner and not have to take like as long of a break like later into the season. So yeah.
Yeah, that seems to be kind of another thing too. Is like when do you guys want to take the break? Are you on break? You on break now or no?
We just started last Monday.
Last Monday. Okay. And what is it? 14 days, 10 days, 5 days,
Yeah, we take 14 days.
14 days. Yeah, that seems to be the going rate as well around here. It's 14 days. Um, but yeah, curious when it comes to your training, like during the season, how many like are there days off in there? Like, do you have a mandatory day off for the week, or is like no days off, or just like an easy run is the day off, like an easier run?
Yeah, I used to take days off, but kind of starting probably with last cross country season, I usually don't take days off. I usually do like an easy day on like a Sunday, which will be like shorter, so it's not like horrible or anything. But yeah, I usually don't. But some
Do
like every once in a while I will.
Yeah. Do you do a long run at all?
Yeah, I do a long run every Saturday, at least for the summer for cross country. And
Yeah.
usually do one for track too, like in the winter. But like once like we start getting down to like the bigger meets and things like that, I'll like cut the long run out and just do like a shorter run. Yeah.
And what is that long run right now? Curious.
Right now, since we just started, I just did 8 last Saturday, so we're kind of just starting lower, but I'm not sure how high I'll get. I guess it depends on like how I'm feeling, fatigue throughout the summer, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think the long run is always just like I feel like it can almost give you just so much more confidence in
Yeah.
yourself. Like doing easy runs is obviously like you need them. You need to get those filler miles, but like the long run itself is just so uh almost meditating in a way too, because it's so long and grueling sometimes, but it just gives you such a confidence boost to knock out. If you can do 10 or 12 or whatever, then doing 3 is kind of
Yeah.
walk in the park.
Mhm.
Um, so when it comes to a cross country gearing up into track, do you see any importance of runners they should do cross country to gear better towards track?
Yeah, definitely. Especially for like distance runners. I mean, there's like the endurance aspect and like once you've already done cross country, it feels like going to track and just doing shorter races. It just feels easier. Also, I think there's that like mental toughness aspect because to do cross country, it takes a lot of mental strength. So when you're going from 3 miles, I honestly think cross country is harder than track. So, like, it takes a lot of mental toughness to do cross country. So going to track, it helps it just a little bit. And also, I think like the difficult terrain, you're going from running like huge hills, lots of elevation in the mud, and then you're going to run on flat surface. And I think it just can help with your strength a lot. So I think cross country is super important for a lot of athletes who want to do track.
Yeah, so you talk about obviously we always bring up cross country and like how grueling it is and how long like mentally tough it can be.
Mhm.
Your balance between running in school, your coach talks or speaks very highly of you on the academic side as well. How is that balance?
Honestly, it gets pretty difficult, I would say, but I just have to work on like not procrastinating. Like as soon as I get home, I just have to get like busy with what I need to do in order to make sure I'm getting enough sleep and stuff. So you really just have to stay focused on things that are like important. So that's kind of, I'm still working on that. Um, Getting to bed at a good time, things like that. But it's really just about balance. And you also have to balance your like social life because you still want to be able to do things that are enjoyable to you. So it's really just about the balance.
So we go into track, right? And you are, and I, because I mentioned this, and if you listen to Anna's uh, episode drops today,
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned this to where there really wasn't too many girls that doubled
Mm-hmm.
in track.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're one of them. You're one of the few that braved the double.
Yeah.
Um, prior to, I guess, let's kind of go to the very beginning. Choosing your event was the 32, because it seems like the 32 may be kind of a sweet spot for you. I mean, sub 11 is kind of is. I think if you're not, I think if you're not sub 5 in the 16, um, it's a new level
Yeah.
versus sub 11 is like that is that yeah that you broke that level. So was the 32 kind of the sweet event from the get go, or were you always gonna kind of try to want to do the double?
I don't think I knew 32 would be like my event until we started getting later into the season. I think honestly at the beginning of the season I was set on like more like the mile being like the event I was going to focus on, but then when we got later into the season and then I all of a sudden went sub 11 when honestly I wasn't even thinking about going sub 11. I think that's when I realized that was kind of my sweet spot. But then at state we were like might as well do both, I guess. I mean, we thought I had enough strength to do that, so that's kind of what we decided to do. But yeah, I think 3200 was definitely my like my event this year.
Yeah, so I remember, I think it was All American. All American, you had a choir event going on, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I talked to your coach about that one because I noticed because my daughter she ran was it Friday, I think it was that first day.
Yeah.
She ran that day too. And I noticed you were in like one of the earlier
Mhm.
heats, not the quickest heat. And I was like, okay, what is going on here? Like, what is going on? But and you still ran crazy well. Um, Going into that race, were you bummed at all, like that you weren't in that fast heat, or like that you had a prior event, or like were you just satisfied, like, hey, I still was able to accomplish this goal? Um, Sky's the limit, I guess, on the next one.
Yeah. Yeah, I was definitely a little bit sad. Like I wasn't even just sad about the 3200 like wanting to be in the fast year. I was sad about all the other events that I could have done, like the mile that happened. But honestly, going into that race, I was super tired because we had a show on Thursday, Friday, and then we had a show Saturday night and then Sunday. So we were like on our feet all week because we had like rehearsals and stuff. So honestly, like I went into it like super tired, but obviously I was like, okay, it'd be nice to go into the fast heat. But then like right before my race, I saw a girl that went like super low 11s in the heat right before me. So I was like, and she did it all by herself. So that kind of gave me some confidence. I was like, okay. But even in that race, I wasn't even like expecting to go sub 11 at all. Like that wasn't even like really a thought in my mind. Like I maybe could do it eventually in the season. But yeah, like as soon as like there was an announcer there, so like I was hearing the announcer say like she could go sub 11, she just has to get a little bit faster, and that kind of gave me the confidence to like push. And yeah, I ended up being really happy with the race, and like it was ended up being good that I was in that heat. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's funny that you mentioned that. Because I asked Ava this. Like hearing stuff. Do you hear like your coach yell at you during the meet or like during the races? Like, do you hear anybody yell at you, or you're just like so kind of focused in there?
I'm usually pretty focused, and honestly, my coach, he's kind of like he'll like stand in the corner and like try to be like more like slick. He'll be like um he won't like be that loud, like he'll try to just like be quieter, and I think that's what makes me listen more. I don't know why, but sometimes I'll hear announcers, but usually I don't really hear anyone except for like my coach and maybe the announcer. Yeah, I kind of just like focus in.
So, we talked about obviously the double at states. How did that decision kind of come to be? Because like obviously the meet itself is not. I mean, I don't think it's really ideal timing. Like it could have been, if anything, push it in the afternoon. To where it's just not as hot and chaotic. Or even just split up into the days. But so what went into that decision? Did you and coach just say like, "Hey, we want to go for this," or like
Yeah.
I'm assuming you felt really confident enough to place high in both. I mean, you obviously you won the 16, but um, yeah, did you take into account like the short time lapse between the 16 and 32?
Yeah, I think we kind of decided maybe like about 3 prior that I was gonna try to do both. Um, and we knew like how close the events were gonna be. So my coach had like a whole plan for me and Ava in between races to try to cool down. It was literally like an hour in between races, and it was so hot that day. So we had a whole plan to like we used those like leg massage things, and we were drinking water and electrolytes, and we were like we had a fan and everything, and we basically our plan was to try to do everything we could to try to recover as fast as possible. And I think in the end, it just wasn't enough time because even at state qualifier earlier, that I think it was like a week earlier, I think there was like 3 hours in between the 16 and the 32. So it was kind of like a big difference. And I did pretty good at state qualifiers, so that gave me confidence. But in the end, at state, there just wasn't enough time to like fully recover. Like I still felt like super fatigued from the 16, but that's okay. I think it was good that we went in having confidence that I could try to do both. It's okay that it didn't work out the way we wanted, but yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned that, and like I said earlier, I think there's even if it was just later in the day and it wasn't as hot and under the lights or something, maybe you can come back and and dictate a little bit more. But just the sun and the heat, that just, I mean, that depletes you after lap 3 or 2. Um, so let's talk about the greatest race ever, state title. At 16, what was the game? Was there a game plan going into that of like how you wanted to control the race, or sitting back, or like you were just gonna go with whoever? What was the game plan for that one?
Yeah, there definitely was a game plan because there's a lot of talented girls in that race. So my coach is very like analytic, so he looks at all the things, everyone's times. I kind of don't do any of that. He kind of just tells me all of that stuff. Um, but yeah, we kind of went in knowing who was good at what event, and a lot of us had really close times. So we did go in with a plan of kind of sitting back, because usually, like in the past, I've liked to start races and kind of lead them, but that doesn't always work out in the end for me. So yeah, we did have a goal to sit back, kind of at like 600 to go if I felt good to take it, and that's kind of what happened in the end.
Do you feel like you have a strong kick at the end of these like races, or do you feel like you have to kind of go out a little bit farther? I mean, 600 is a little far. It's a little farther out there. I mean, I feel like most will try and like command something maybe at 550 or five, not 555 or even
Yeah,
450.
yeah. I feel like even I don't think generally I don't think I have the greatest kick. I think like even at the beginning of the season, I really had a kick. I would just go out faster and then kind of get tired in the end. It was
Hmm.
what it was, but at the end of the season, we really worked on that. Like we knew that was something I kind of was struggling with, so we really focused on that at the end of the season. Um, and yeah, I think that really helped me in the end. We were doing a lot of just 400s, straight up 200s, just to go as fast as you can. And I think that really helped out in the end because I think that was probably my fastest closing lap I've had in a month. So.
Was there was there a moment you felt like, oh, I got this in the bag, like it's over?
Honestly, I don't think I did. I I finished to the line because my last cross country season, I didn't think I had it in the bag, but I thought I was pretty far ahead, and then that ended up not working out. I got caught in the last like it was like 50 meters. So I like never had that thought in my mind. I like pushed straight to the end. And that's why I was like so surprised at the end when I crossed first yeah, I never had like a thought in my mind that I was like definitely gonna win until the end, until I crossed.
Um, and so obviously, again, we talked about such a low turnover to the 32. When you got on the line, was there um any like I guess what was the game plan for that? Like, was there any doubt of like, oh man, like the legs just they're tired, like hopefully everybody just goes
Yeah,
out slow, or like you get out ahead and slow the pace down? Like, what was going on through there?
yeah. The plan I think originally was gonna be to sit back, like not too far back, um, because at state qualifiers previously, that's what I did, and even though like the first place girl was decently far ahead, I was able to catch up in the end. I'm usually like good at like kind of getting a little bit faster throughout the race. Um, so that was kind of the plan for state, but I couldn't tell how tired I was until I started running. Just because it was the races were so close, so I you didn't really get much warm up time if you wanted to recover at all. So I couldn't really tell until I started running. And then there was one girl, she started out pretty fast. And like it was kind of from the get go that I did not feel very good. But, I tried. I kept going.
No,
Glad I didn't drop out or anything like that because that was a really like tough race for me. Yeah.
yeah, I mean sixth is still super
Yeah.
super great. It's not a bad finish at all. Um, we talk about 5:02 as the PR for the 16. Um, when you do all the calculations, whatever calculator you really want to for the full mile, it's probably right there, five flat, if not sub five.
Yeah.
Um, any was there any thought of doing a postseason meet to try and go under, or because obviously I know you didn't do anything, kind of cut it off, but was there any like, hey, coach, maybe I want to do one more shot at this to try and get under?
Yeah, we thought about it a little bit because I mean I did Adidas last year. And it just ended up being like 2 weeks later after the season had already ended. And the way like our coach sets up our training, it's kind of like we're meant to peak at state. So I kind of wasn't completely sure that I even would go sub five at like a post season meet. But also, I just think this whole year in general, I never really was in like a super competitive mile. Like even at distance carnival, I'd ran 32, and that was what my best time was. And I think like even if I would have ran it at distance carnival, I maybe could have cracked five. But I think we kind of just decided as a whole to just cut it off, um, and just go straight into cross country training. But I think this year we're definitely thinking about doing some postseason races.
Yeah, because then again, yeah, we go back to like the PR of to like 10:42. It's like, um, what do you think when you ran that PR? Um, do you think there's like a possibility for something more? Like it's just like I say with like the 16 was like if you had the opportunity, do you think there was maybe something left in the tank, or really that was probably a good place to kind of shut it down for the year?
Yeah, I think 32. I don't know if I would have had more in me this season, but I would have had more in me because even at state, like we were running those first two laps like pretty slow. Like I think we were running 2:39 for 800. So it started off very slow and then I ended the race like running I think 68 for 400. So I definitely do think I had a lot more left in me. I just think I didn't really get the opportunity, but I'm okay with like just ending the season, taking the 2 weeks off and focusing straight on cross country because I just think cross country right now is just a big focus for mine. And yeah.
Yeah. So what would you say then would be like? Would you say running a track season is important for cross country?
Um, I definitely think cross country might be more important for track, but I still think track has like a lot of benefits for cross country. I mean, I think all the speed work for important, especially for like explosive for the start of cross country races. I think a lot of big cross country races are really hard because there's so many people on the start line. You need to get a good start if you want to get in a good spot at the beginning of the race. I think track is really good for like surging in cross country races, wanting to pass a few people. And I also think track is like helpful just for like the finish, sprint finish. So I think mainly the importance for track going into cross country is a lot of the speed work.
Yeah, and so that kind of brings us to obviously now. And I know you're on break, so the summer training really hasn't like kicked off yet. But having a really really strong track season, on top of the cross season that I had last year, do you have any expectations or goals kind of leading up to that,
Yeah,
time wise or anything?
yeah, definitely. I definitely think I can go more below 18, especially in some of those bigger races with a lot of really competitive and really talented girls. I think I can maybe go 17:30s this year. I think that'd be a really big goal to hit. Um, yeah, that's like my main time goal. I mean, for our team as a whole, a lot of us are seniors, so I think we have uh, a lot of big goals for our team as a whole. Yeah.
Now, when when you talk about like 17:30, and I'm sure your coach probably talks about it as well sometimes. Um, like, do you look at other girls' times either currently or in the past and say like, well, hey, they ran 10:50 and they ran 17:32. Like, do you ever notice that at all, or?
Yeah, honestly, I try to avoid that stuff like as much as possible. Like even our team uses Strava just to track our mileage, and I put myself on Strava too, but I like don't even scroll through. Like I don't even like to look at my feed at all because I like to just not think about that or worry about it. And I never really check mile split that much, even to see like who's in my race or anything. My coach would usually tell me what's kind of going on at all. So I kind of avoid that as a whole. I try to like focus more on where I'm at mentally and physically.
That's pretty good. Mainly because I feel like just in general, like the day and age is so involved in like results and rankings and all that stuff. So it's kind of almost like thrown at you in a
Mhm.
way that you can't avoid it. Um, Still though, we speak on it. Number two overall returner for all of South Carolina. Um, and I know again we already said like you don't really look at the rankings, but when you look at like wanting to do a Foot Locker South and possibly get out to San Diego, it does vary by year of like kind of what gets you out of the South. Some years it's 1750, other years it's like 1720.
Yeah.
So which is it's wild sometimes. Um so when you look at that, do you think a 1730 would get you out of there, or do you have those like you may have a goal or an expectation, but realistically, like like, hey, I need to run X amount of time to be able to do this, so like that would also kind of influence
Mhm.
where you're kind of looking at trying to be?
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not too sure. I've never really looked at like Foot Locker results or anything like that. And even if I did it this year, I'm not sure I would go in like expect because it would be my first time ever running Foot Locker. But I am like super competitive, so obviously I'd probably go in like wanting to be able to get out of it. So honestly, I'm not sure right now, but we'll see once we get there. And my answer probably would.
All right, so I got two more questions here. One, obviously, having a teammate to run with is like super important.
Yeah.
Doing it alone is pretty dang hard. It can be done, but it's super hard. How has it been running with Ava and just all together? Like, does she push you in workouts and keep you honest, I guess?
Yeah. Yeah, she definitely does. It's so hard to run by why it's so hard, but just like one pace might feel so much harder just running by yourself and running the same pace with someone else seems easier. But um ever since I've been in like 8th grade, I've always kind of had to run by myself or either run with the boys, but they're kind of our boys team has grown a lot, so they're kind of farther ahead than me. But yeah, it's so helpful to run with Ava. She's always pushing me. We're always pushing each other, especially in those speed workouts. She has a lot of speed, so she helps me with that because that's kind of my not my strong suit. So yeah, she pushes me in like all our workouts.
Yeah, no, it's super important. I had a buddy who was a much stronger miler than me, but I was much better kind of distance runner, and to complement each other is it goes a long way, really does. Um, Last question, kind of to kind of wrap it up. College,
Hmm.
college. are you interested in running in college or not really, or like, how does that kind of waiting to see?
Yeah, I definitely am interested in running in college. It's kind of a difficult process right now with like all the roster changes that are happening with all those teams. So it's gonna be a long process, and honestly, I'm not even like set on like anything with college right now. Like I'm pretty much open to any schools. So yeah, that's kind of where I am right now in the recruiting process.
Do you want to stay in state? Is there a preference to staying in state, being home, or no, not really?
I don't have a preference right now. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, honestly, like I said, we look forward to watching a whole season of you, and would love to have you back on as well. Hopefully, maybe towards like the beginning of the summer or beginning of summer, beginning of the year, see how summer went and all that jazz.
Yeah. Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.